last week's teaching was making friends with the Kundalini. So as the big, just overarching teaching here is we need to make friends with this energy. This energy is the energy of God, and God will always win in your life. So arguing with God, arguing with Kundalini does not work. So that was last week's teaching. But when you become friends with God, and I said to my daughter yesterday, just like we were having some fun praying, Daddy has a friend in Jesus. And so when I have a friend in Jesus, I feel the presence of Jesus. I open to the teachings of Jesus, to Christ consciousness, and I receive support. But if Jesus is coming into my life, if Kundalini is coming into my life and I make that an enemy, well, then I don't receive support. It's a very basic teaching, but very powerful. So the second part, the second major teaching here is basically energy wants to flow. Energy wants to flow. So can we cooperate with this energy? And so the teaching goes something like this. When the body is relaxed, energy flows and healing begins. So energy wants to flow. Kundalini is energy. You all are obviously here because there's a lot of Kundalini energy flowing in your body, or trying to flow. And so that first teaching is, can we make friends with the energy and cooperate? When the body is relaxed, energy flows and healing begins. So if any of you have found this path or this experience of Kundalini to be a nightmare, which some of you have, the way forward is to relax the body and let the energy flow. And as you do so, this is the quickest way for the Kundalini to integrate with your human body and your human nervous system. Now, excuse me, one of the big things that happens when you have energy, when your body's not relaxed, is energy's not flowing and it gets stuck and it starts to spin or feel pressurized or feel all pent up. And for some individuals, they resist the energy. And so you feel like you're on the edge of having a panic attack, like all the time. And the ego has this general thought, I don't like things that are overwhelming. So if there's something overwhelming or unknown, I'm going to repress. I'm going to fight. I'm going to resist. And if you listen to the ego, you can struggle with Kundalini pressure and bizarre symptoms for decades, literally. But if we say, what if I trust and open instead of resisting? So basically we use the language of God. We open the doors of the chakras and say, I'm going to trust and let energy flow and see what happens. Now here's a crucial moment, because for most of us, when we try to relax our body and open and trust, more energy flows. And then the ego says, oh, that's not good. I'm going to shut down again. But I'm going to invite you to trust for, say, the next 4 minutes, the next 4 hours, the next 4 days, the next 4 years, the next 40 years, but just to open and trust that even though lots of energy is flowing, I'm going to invite you just to imagine it's like a volcano. It needs to flow and empty out of you. And eventually your body will become regulated again. You'll become grounded again. If you just repress, you're going to be on the verge of having a panic attack for the next 40 years. But if you trust and open, you might have a volcano of energy that flows through your body that may feel wild and bizarre and difficult and overwhelming. But if you breathe through it, eventually healing and integration will take place. Now, healing and integration are messy words. They're messy experiences. I'll say that differently. Healing and integration are sweet words, but they're actually messy experiences. When people think of healing, we think of, laying down on a massage table and someone gently fluffing up our body, while we're hearing, sweet music and there's essential oils, in the air. Healing with Kundalini oftentimes means like you're laying on the floor, you're bouncing all around with kriyas, your mind's feeling overwhelmed with old thoughts and karma, that's old repressed energy and emotions moving through your body. But if you simply breathe and let it unravel, again, energy just wants to move. So whether it's old repressed emotion or Kundalini, it just wants to move. And if you let it move and empty out of your body without touching it, grabbing onto it, fighting with it, resisting it, arguing with it, judging it, saying, I should have done this, I should have done that back in 1982 or whatever. If we just let it flow and breathe through it, it will come into integration. And you'll feel peaceful and spacious, perhaps blissful and radiant and alive. Now, that may not happen within the first 5 minutes of letting go and letting the energy flow, but it will begin to happen as you do this over a period of months. And this is the thing that most people struggle with. They just have a basic unconscious thought that says, there's a feeling in my body that's too much. I don't know what it is. I don't like it. So I'm going to resist it and fight with it. And so the ego just clenches in the throat chakra and represses it down. And if that is your game plan with Kundalini, you may struggle with this experience for 30 years. But if you try a different game plan, the one I'm describing, where we say, okay, this energy is the energy of God. It's the energy of grace. It's actually an aspect of my true nature. What if I took a gamble here and began to open, even though it's uncomfortable, and just let the energy flow and trust in God that there is an intelligence here and see what happens? So if you follow the second game plan, you'll come into integration within 6 months or, 3 or 4 years, somewhere in between there. And so the process takes time. And so it takes consistent trust. So it's not just one day you trust for 5 minutes. That's not going to work. Basically, God is coming into you saying, I want your heart to be open to me. I want your mind to be open to me. I want your heart to be open to me. I want you to trust in me. So can you open in these major chakra centers and let my energy of grace flow through you and wait and see what gifts that I have for you. So that's kind of how the invitation of God comes. The invitation of ego is, I need to control the rest of my life. And then we don't spiritually awaken. We just stay a normal human being with a lot of energy and pressure in our nervous system. Okay, so that's the teaching for today. So with last week's teaching of making friends with the Kundalini, that helps the body to relax and to soften. The breath helps the body to relax and soften. Body work helps the body to relax and soften. Meditation, yoga helps the body relax and soften. Getting comfortable with pain, that helps the body to relax and soften. And see, all these things are supportive energies, and they help you to grow and evolve spiritually. All these activities that I'm describing as well make your body a fit container for Kundalini Shakti. All these things I just described make your body a fit container for the spiritual awakening process. So like with yogic science, in the past, they taught meditate a lot, do lots of yoga, chant this mantra and practice this Kriya yoga. And in a sense, I'm saying the exact same thing. The chanting the mantra and doing the Kriya Yoga, basically what that does is it invites you to pay attention to your inner world. To pay attention to your inner world, to pay attention. So Kriya Yoga is you pay attention to each of the chakra centers, how they're feeling, what you're experiencing there. And so we're paying attention and we're learning to relax deeply. And so with relaxation, it can look like two things. One is just like, I'm going to breathe deeply and just generally relax and generally open to the energy in my body. So that's just a general attitude of relaxation. Our body needs that on the spiritual path, with or without Kundalini. We need to learn to deeply relax, just like our whole psyche, our mind, our mental nature, our emotional nature, our physical nature needs to relax. When the body is relaxed, chakras tend to, they open, and then the Kundalini can flow unimpeded. Now, the other way we relax is in a very specific surgical way, where you relax in a full way, and then you scan the body and you might notice, okay, I'm deeply relaxed everywhere but my belly, my lower back. God, my lower back is so locked up, it's so tight, it's so tense. What's going on there? And so in a surgical way, can you bring the fullness of your awareness to your lower back and to breathe into that area? And that may feel like you're breathing into fire, breathing into tremendous pain. And here's where your ego will play a game with you. It will say, there's a lot of pain there. I just want to distract. I want to go somewhere else. I want to hop on Instagram. I want to search for a new car or a new house or new partner. So we're not going to listen to the ego in that moment. It's innocent. It's just trying to get you away from the pain. And I'm going to tell you to do the opposite, just to sit with the pain and breathe and feel and open. To breathe and feel and open. So we relax in an overarching way, but then we also relax in a surgical way. And so when I say sit with the pain, and just to be clear about that, like I had, chronic back pain, and I sat with it for 10 years. 10 years. So I'm not just talking about one breath into something. I sat with ridiculous pain that brought me to my knees every day for 10 years. I was crying, curled up in the fetal position. And I just kept breathing into it. Now, it won't necessarily be like that for all of you, but for me, I was a difficult case. So I had to breathe deeply and fully into my back for 10 years. I also got body work and went to counseling and visited with my teachers. But the main practice was breathing and opening. And there'd be times when I'd breathe and all the energy would open and turn to bliss. And I'd feel, I'd go from ridiculous pain to overwhelming euphoria and bliss for 30 seconds or for an hour or for 4 days. And then my body would lock up again. And so I just stayed with it again and again and again. And now the body just feels blissful and just a little bit of pain, from spending too much time, sitting in a chair or whatever. So just normal human pain, not Kundalini pain. Okay. So that's the teaching. I hope it's clear and makes sense. We're going to make friends with the Kundalini. We're going to relax the body and trust that if the energy is flowing, it's good. It's good. And so we can open it up for questions now. So if you have a question, you can put it in the chat or you can raise your hand. Now, apparently, last week, people said they were raising their hand, but I did not see them. So I'll see if I can use my eyes better in regards to looking for the hands raised. So there is a question that came forward from Mel in the group about this very thing. Let me see if I can pull that up while people gather the courage to raise your hand. Hi, Craig. I did 3 yoga classes this last week. It brought forth some very deep old issues and very quickly with great intensity. All kinds of painful feeling stuff returned. I followed it up with classical kinesiology, somatic body work, and a lot of sitting kindly and compassionately with sadness and terror while they released. I love yoga. I love the movements and the postures. I love the connection, and I feel it as my body moves and stretches and opens. But it's like pouring gasoline on the fire. Is there any particular type of yoga that is less triggering, or is this a personal thing? How do I know when it is too much? Is there a point where I start to feel a little crazy or psychologically off balance? Is this a case of just listening and trusting what is required from moment to moment and paying attention to the voice of truth, which guides us from a still point within? So here Mel is answering her own question. A lot of people send me questions like this. They write a question and then they answer it. So the thing I normally say, if you're doing a practice and it stirs up energy, this is normal. This is good. It's to be, it's to be expected, to be expected. So the way I looked at the path is, if there's energy flowing, there's a good chance I'm healing and integrating. Healing and integrating is messy. So if I was feeling a lot of Kundalini in my nervous system and really pent up emotion and intensity, I'd do yoga 3 or 4 times a week. I might do yoga 7 days a week. And if it stirred up more energy, would I stop doing the yoga? Personally, no. I'd continue doing it and trust that this is healing. Now, what I'm not going to do is intense pranayama. So if the yoga teacher is saying, hey, let's do breath of fire, I'm not going to do breath of fire, because I don't need any more. I don't need to excite the prana. The prana is already very excited to the point of it, almost causing a nervous breakdown. But am I going to stop doing the healing work because it's uncomfortable or because it's bringing stuff forward? No. I'm just going to keep going forward with it. Now, there's different times of the day when I'm going to do the yoga. Like, say, for example, I'd like to do it in the morning and then go to work, and but if I have to, I'll say that differently. I'll do it in the morning, and then if I need a little time to unravel or lay on the floor and just let it unravel, and then start my work day a little bit later. I do it something like that. If I have an evening without children, I might do it at 5 or 6 o'clock, but I'm not going to try to do yoga at 9:30 before I go to bed if it's going to stir up a lot of energy, because I want to be able to sleep at night. I meditate in the morning, sometimes in the evenings, but in the morning, and then just if there's things that come forward, they kind of work themselves out throughout the day. Again, I'm not going to meditate at 9 o'clock at night, right before bedtime, if there's a lot of Kundalini fire flowing in that meditation. If it's just a really relaxed, peaceful meditation, sure, I'm going to meditate before night and just relax the body and gently go to bed. And I hope you all can understand the difference or the discernment. What I was speaking about there is, you want to time it a little bit. But the way I looked at this path is, there was part of me that was like a warrior and just said, I need to get through this. So I want to get through it in the 3-year time frame, not in a 15 to 30-year time frame. So I'm going to go do yoga 7 days a week. I'm going to go to counseling. I'm going to visit with my spiritual teachers. I'm going to go on retreats. But I'm not going to chant mantras all night long. I'm not going to go to kirtan. and just be stirring up lots and lots of bhakti energy. I'm not going to do, say, like hot power yoga 7 days a week, or for some people in the group, they find that very healing. Like Neil from Ireland is one. He loves doing Bikram. It relaxes and helps to integrate the body. When I do Bikram yoga, it tends to stir everything up, and it tends to be too much. Maybe Bikram once, twice a week, or hot yoga once or twice a week. Okay, I can deal with that on Saturday morning, but I'm not going to be doing it 7 days a week. My body responds better to yin yoga, really soft, gentle yoga, versus really intense Ashtanga or, a really long vinyasa flow. Sometimes, I might sit down to do yoga and my body says, you're going to lay here and do cat and cow and child's pose for the next 25 minutes. And so I listen to that intuitively. I don't try to push through and do lots of headstands and full wheel and, all that kind of stuff. And so a big part of Kundalini awakening is you learning to listen to the voice of your heart, to listen to the intuitive guidance of your heart. And part of that means you have to just be willing to open and listen to the quietest voice within you. Sometimes we do that and we listen to the wrong voice, and then you learn from that. Like you might get a great idea. Hot yoga is what I need, and I need to do it twice a day, 7 days a week. And you realize, oh, that was just a good idea, that I thought I had, my ego mind had. That wasn't the truth of my heart. It wasn't the truth of my heart.